Shalom, Israel. I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to the Most High Yahweh and to his mighty son, Yahweh B'Hashem, Hamashiach Yahweh. And today we're going to go over Disney adults, kidults, grown children. And we're going to do a 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11 breakdown to put this all into perspective. Probably seen Disney adults or some offshoot of them. They're grown adults who go to Disney, they dress up, they get overexcited and act like children when they see these like people in costume or whatever, as if they are like 8 years old. They spend far too much money going to a park that's designed for families without children. And you'll see like offshoots, like the La Boo Boo trend this past year. Literally these ugly dolls. It was mostly adults buying them. They're toys. The recent like Lego fanaticism. Mostly people buying Lego now are adults. These are toys, and they cost like $1,000. Like, it's crazy. But these, and then of course the whole video game phenomena, and but basically it all ties back to adults who do not want to grow up. They don't want to put away childish things. They want to remain in this carefree state to where they didn't have to worry about anything, and all they had to do was mindlessly consume their favorite stuff. But at the same time, these people want to be an adult when it's convenient, like when they can, drive, get alcohol, have intercourse, or even have kids, or like buy a house or apartment. Like they're selectively adults while still actively acting like children. You have some that go even all the way and do this whole child play thing where they pretend like they're babies or kids, and that's some very sick mess. And if you don't think that this degeneration of adulthood is, for one, the Most High did this, but the powers that be, the oppressors, Satan, Amalek, Esau, they all did this on purpose to make everyone more vulnerable to not only capitalism and consumerism, but also so that the new world order can more easily come in. Because the people of the past, they would have thought, they would have rioted, they would have fought back. But the people today, they're so apathetic to violence, to the suffering of their fellow human, to the political changes going on around them, that they can just easily just make changes and you won't do anything. I mean, they already did the successful test during 2020 with the lockdowns, and you guys believe their whole story about that illness and about that thing you took to prevent that illness.
What about f***ing Disney adults? F***ing Disney adults, I just don't get that one bit at all. I just don't understand why anybody would get married at Disney. I don't understand why they would go on their honeymoon to Disney. I think to go to Disney and enjoy it, you have to have little kids.
Okay, I have enjoyed myself at Disneyland with my children. I genuinely have. As an adult, would you and I we're in LA, I think we're gonna go to Disneyland for the day?
No.
I think it's weird. Do what you want to do. It's a free country. I don't get it. I think maybe we're cold-hearted, horrible people.
Tragedy has struck. I waited too long to get the croque glacé, and they ran out of the bread. And I'm stuck with this subpar macaron ice cream sandwich that is not nearly as good, and I am very peeved, and nothing is gonna make this better.
Disney adults, they're the weirdest people in the world.
Now, do they only become activated when they're in Disney World?
I don't know, but if you've met a Disney adult, it usually is a sign. There's a lot of people out there that get married at Disney World, get proposed at Disney World, they dress up as Disney characters. I think Disney adults, their hobby becomes their personality traits because the rest of the world no longer accepts them.
So they find each other.
They have to find each other, and that's what they become.
Yeah, there is a phenomenon, though, of people that you think are just normal, everyday dudes and girls that walk amongst us, able to blend in, but the second they set foot inside the Disney theme park, they just change.
Yeah.
Their entire body, their mood changes, and they just want to stay there for the rest of it.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. And this is no longer a thing anymore. Adult things are now temporary. In between me playing video games, watching anime, going to Disneyland, I can do adult things. I can go get alcohol, I can go have sex, and go to work. And then I go back to my childish things. There's no separation of adulthood and childhood. And it's not like an occasional thing. Like every 6 months I may pick up my favorite game, or I may rewatch a Disney movie every other year or whatever. No, it's a you know all the kids' content better than the children. The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Paul is using this verse as a metaphor, not only for spiritual maturity, but also for the difference between immaturity and true wisdom in Yahawashi. He's showing us that Israel must grow up out of carnal, fleshly, and childish ways. Childish understanding. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 22, verse 11. Weep for the dead, for he hath lost the light. And weep for the fool, for he wanteth understanding. Make little weeping for the dead, for he is at rest. But the life of the fool is worse than death. 7 days do men mourn for him that is dead, but for a fool and an ungodly man, all the days of his life. A childish mind is a foolish mind, stuck in pleasure and immaturity, unable to discern righteousness. Today's young adults are often trapped in lust, pleasure-seeking, and rebellion against order. Proof of childish understanding. I mean, they act like teenagers, like, the whole like rebelling against your parents. So that's basically any traditional, moral, good way that would follow the Bible. And they're constantly in their lust, whether that's actual for sexual stuff or just like need for idolatry of like their favorite childish activity. And it can even be more stuff that's accepted as adult stuff like sports, but that's still childish because those are grown men playing a game.
And you see, the Bible also goes into detail about a foolish mind, because this incorporates idolatry. It incorporates spiritual fornication. The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 12. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them, the corruption of life. You, as an adult, if you do not put away those childish things, then you open yourself up to those receptors, the immediate gratification, the things such as your childhood, sports, video games, these things that bring the immediate gratification. These become your new God.
If you're always stuck in a childish mindset, children are more open to being attacked by evil spirits more easily. They easily can come in because you don't think rationally. You're overly emotional. So they use your childhood nostalgia. They put more satanic, sinful stuff in it. You consume it as an adult, and with your childish mindset, you more easily accept the demonry. So you're now more easily going deep into the world.
That is very true. The idolatry is something that we have a hard time getting over, especially our generation. And we need to mortify our members. You get that in the book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 5. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, verse 9. Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth, and let thy heart cheer thee in the days of thy youth, and walk in the ways of thine heart, and in the sight of thine eyes. But know thou that for all these things God will bring thee into judgment. Therefore, remove sorrow from thy heart, and put away evil from thy flesh. For childhood and youth are vanity. Paul echoes this. Childish thinking must be put away, because the youth tends towards vanity. Modern young adults glorify vanity, social media, fashion, music, rebellion, all forms of entertainment, which destroy society because they do not embrace responsibility or judgment. Being a serious adult who is logical, thinks things through, doesn't need instant gratification, people don't want to be that anymore. That's boring. I want to be a smooth-brained child for the rest of my life.
We can get a precept on how bad vanity really is. The book of Psalms, chapter 4, verse 2. O ye sons of men, how long will ye turn my glory into shame? How long will ye love vanity and seek after leasing, Salah? Meaning, how long will you seek after the things that are not pertaining unto the Lord and are useless? That's what vanity is.
Becoming a man. The book of 1 Kings, chapter 2, verse 2. I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong, therefore, and shew thyself a man, and keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes, and his commandments, and his judgments, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself. To put away childish things is to accept responsibility for keeping Yahweh's laws. Maturity is measured by obedience to the Most High God, not by age or physical growth. Because as we've seen, just because you have an adult body does not mean you are mentally an adult. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 25, verse 1. In 3 things I was beautified, and stood up beautiful both before God and men. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, a man and a wife that agree together. 3 sorts of men my soul hateth. I am very grievous unto their life, a poor man that is proud, a rich man that is a liar, and an old adulterer that doteth. Here, immaturity in older men is condemned. Paul's point in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11, is that as Israel matures, childish stubbornness, foolish lust, and empty speech must cease.
And this is how the aged men are supposed to act. The book of Titus, chapter 2, verse 1. But speak thou the things which become sound doctrine, that the aged men be sober, grave, meaning serious, or reverent, temperate, sound in faith, in charity, in patience. So you need to be, so an aged man, he has reverence, he's temperate, doesn't have anger issues, or is emotional, he's sound in faith, and he has love in his heart and patience. But what he's not doing is being a Disney adult over here in some little kid's fandoms of some cartoon or video game who knows the entire lore and breakdown of whatever the heck it is better than the actual kids do, who that media is made for.
Spiritual maturity. The book of Hebrews, chapter 5, verse 12. For when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God, and are become such as have need of milk, and not of strong meat. For every one that useth milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But strong meat belongeth to them that are of full age, even those who, by reason of use, have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. This is a problem in the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. A lot of our older women, so-called Black women, especially, you are physically aged, you're older women, middle-aged women, but you talk as if you are still in your 20s, with your delusions, with your expectations, with you still thinking you should get out there and try and like catch a man or whatever. At this point, you should have been like 20, 30 years deep in a marriage with your one husband of many years, and you've only been with him. But no, we have grandmas at the club. We have grandmas giving horrible advice to young women to sabotage them because they want their men. This is also a childish mindset. Paul warns that spiritual immaturity, being stuck on milk, keeps Israel weak. This connects directly with the modern young adult mind. Too many remain as babes, refusing discipline and preferring foolishness over responsibility.
And this really goes in relations to these multiple spirits that you guys battle with every day. Everyone battles with this. This is part of living in this flesh. We're living in a spiritual war. And these are some of the demons that people deal with, especially when you're not sober, when you're not somber, when you're not sound, when you don't have a mature mind about you, when you're still a babe, when you're still a milk drinker, but you're 35 years old. The book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 29, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of Yahweh, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. And a lot of you are willfully wicked in this regard, and you refuse. This goes especially to a lot of you grown people. You refuse to read this Bible. You refuse to accept the fact that you're an Israelite. You accept the ways of this world. See, that's part of immaturity. Accepting the ways of the world. Do you know that the only reason why a lot of you bastards celebrate Christmas, it ain't got nothing to do with your kids. It's for you. It's for your grown self. That's why you celebrate the birthdays. That's why you celebrate Christmas and Easter. It's for you. It has nothing to do with your children. Don't even give a damn about none of this stuff. They won't remember any of it. That's why you get butthurt when your kids are disrespectful to you. Like, I spent all this money on Christmas because Christmas was for you. Your eyes light up when you walk into the store. You sing the jingle tunes when you walk into Walmart and they're playing that incessant Christmas music. That's you. Because you refuse to grow up because you're a Toys R Us kid.
And a lot of this is connected to spiritual warfare. We get that in the book of Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That is to say that that this world is ruled over by evil spirits that want you to go into sin instead of keeping the laws of the Most High. And what are you doing every time that you idolize your childish ways or whatever they are? You're losing that spiritual battle, and you're letting those demons come inside of you.
Application to today's modern young adult. Modern society pushes perpetual childhood. Many young men and women glorify entertainment over responsibility, chasing vanity rather than building family or community. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, verse 10. Therefore, remove sorrow from thy heart and put away evil from thy flesh. For childhood and youth are vanity. They refuse discipline, leading to lawlessness, crime, broken homes, and a weakened nation. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 22, verse 11. Weep for the dead, for he hath lost the light, and weep for the fool, for he wanted understanding. Make little weeping for the dead, for he is at rest. But the life of the fool is worse than death. 7 days do men mourn for him that is dead. But for a fool and an ungodly man, all the days of his life. Nowadays, you could even connect this to the rise in plastic surgery to always remain looking young and staying in a young state because people value beauty and youth and vanity to stay closer to childhood, which is vanity, over just aging and being blessed to age and not die or D-word young. Also, this obsession with your 20, before teenagers were actually expected to be more mature at their age, but now you have an extended teenager dumb all the way up until you're 30. You're not even expected to be mature in your 20s, and your 20s is to be peak childish behavior with adult privileges. The love of pleasure over duty keeps our people spiritually asleep. The book of 2 Timothy, chapter 3, verse 1. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heedy, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. This explains all of the younger generations, millennials, zoomers, Gen Alpha. If you don't understand some of the words, look them up, and this is basically literally all that they do, all the evil spirits that are on them. This childish spirit is detrimental to society because it keeps Israel in bondage under the heathen, instead of rising in righteousness and order under Yahawashi.
In fact, it's getting so bad that there's even Chuck E. Cheese's opening, apparently in some areas, where they're serving beer in a separated section. What is the point of that? Who are you catering to? Because the adults that should be chaperoning their children and driving them home should not be getting drunk. So who is that for? A bunch of old adults who from years ago that you're still trying to get your old audience back now that they're all grown, instead of trying to cater to the new kids and trying something, I don't know, different.
If you haven't noticed the death of like a children spaces, not only online but offline, like companies don't even bother trying to appeal to the younger generation. They're just focusing on constantly milking the kids that they got 20, 30 years ago. I mean, even look at a big franchise like Pokemon. Kids don't really play it unless you're the child of a kid who originally got into the Pokemon cult in the 90s. You'll see, if you see a midnight release for Pokemon, you won't see parents picking up for their kids. You won't even see kids or teenagers. You're going to see a line of 20 to 30 something, sometimes even 40 something, picking up the new Pokemon game on the day of release. That is genuinely embarrassing.
That death of the childhood, unfortunately, it does affect you as an adult. And we see this. Remember, this is a spiritual warfare. And who's leading the charge? Babylon the Great, Satan's seat. And why do this? Because this keeps you physically, spiritually, and mentally weak, which means you're going to be susceptible to Babylon the Great's wares. You're going to be susceptible to alternative lifestyles, drug use, broken families, hell, not even having a family. If you look at commercials today, they don't do commercials catering to families. They do commercials that glorify being divorced, never having children, intercultural or interracial relationships. They do anything and everything that goes against scripture. You got people who go to Universal Studios, grown-ups, dressed as Harry Potter characters. Meaning that you got dressed up like that and you're going to walk around this hot ass park all day long dressed up like a Harry Potter character, but you're a whole attorney though. They serve beer and alcohol at Disney parks. They have adult only time at Disney parks. They don't give a damn about you kids. And pretty soon it's going to be no kids allowed. Why? Kids ain't got no money.
Also, the elites have convinced you to, like, they don't even have to do wars anymore. They don't have to kill you like with famines or anything. You are killing yourselves for them by the hatred of children, the hatred of families, the hatred of the opposite sex, the hatred of marriage. I mean, most of the people that go to Disney are single adults with no children. And there's all these child-free zones that are popping up, like restaurants where you can't bring kids. You're basically doing you have countries like South Korea and Japan who have such low birth rates. It's like 1%. Like, that's crazy. They're not going to be able to replace themselves. You're doing it for them. And they've convinced you through overpopulation lies, through strong independent women lies, through like you need to wait for the right time lies. These are all lies. The Most High commanded us to be fruitful and multiply. That's it. There was nothing else put on there. No other wait for the right time or have enough money or this and that. He just said have kids and that's it.
And unfortunately, because of these lies, we live in a time where men and women have unrealistic expectations of each other. Well, he has to make $250,000 every 10 minutes. He has to have a pole that's longer than his left arm, and he must be able to walk on water. Oh, and he must have the Thanos glove. He got to break that Thanos glove out at every single second to give me everything I want because I want to live in my own reality. Okay, she must be a virgin, and then a virgin, and then a virgin, and then a virgin, and then a virgin. Oh, and it's okay that I make $14 an hour, but a virgin. You guys live in La La Land. So since they've destroyed childhood, now you have millennials, you have Zoomers, and now the alphas are coming up. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They're going to want to relive those childhood, just like Michael Jackson. You're going to want to relive your childhood when at this time you're supposed to do what? Put away childish things.
Conclusion. Paul's words in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11 are a call to Israel to grow up spiritually and mentally, to be a man or a woman, is to embrace responsibility, wisdom, and obedience to Yahweh's laws. The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Refusing to put away childish things leaves our people weak, easily deceived and destructive to themselves and society. The book of 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 2. I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong, therefore, and show thyself a man. And keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes, and his commandments, and his judgments, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest thyself. Even if you're in the truth, you must keep in mind these things, because a lot of people in the truth, they still dabble in stuff that they did in the world, whether it be sports or video games or whatever, music or whatever it is. And you have to make sure it doesn't become an idol. You have to make sure that you don't allow yourself to become a mush brain and start to act like a zoomer in the world or a millennial in the world. You can't completely submerge yourself in childish things. Put down the video games and pick up the Bible. Turn off Beauty and the Beast and pick up the Bible. Put down the Lego set and pick up the Bible. A lot of this stuff is doing as the oppressor does, because a lot of these videos you'll see Edomites doing this crazy mess. And women are more susceptible to consumers. And why do you think companies have been pushing to market to women? Because women are more emotional beings and crave instant gratification, probably more than men. So they buy more. Women in the U.S. have the most debt. So you are most susceptible to this so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American women. So you must have constant vigilance. Sit down in the mirror and examine yourself and how your relationship with these things. Now, if you don't want to end up in the lake of fire with these Disney adults, with these kidults, with these grown children, then you repent, follow the law, statutes, commandments, fear the Most High God, and have faith in His only begotten Son, Yahawashi, and grow up. And with that, shalom.